We are Tailgate Talk. Welcome into the show. We're back. I'm Matt Thomas. With me, we've got Kyle Schumann and Trent Williams. Kyle Mulwiney is locked up abroad somewhere, and he needs you to donate to his GoFundMe in order to help him get out and get back to the United States. But we're back. It is a fresh season upon us. We've got new locations. We've got new lighting in the basement. Got it all done without Trent Williams even coming up to help. But we're ready for another football season, guys.
Feels good to be back, honestly. I mean, this podcast is a lot of fun, especially when the season's going well. We had a lot to have fun with last year, and I mean, I know I share this sentiment with every Penn State fan, but like I've never been more excited for a season.
Yeah, I'm just pumped to talk football with the boys, and it's gonna be another fun season of a cringy but fun podcast. Let's get this thing going. I mean, I'm pumped.
There's a lot to be excited about, but I think before we start talking football, we got to get into the big news of the day. Luke Combs doing a concert in Beaver Stadium next April. We're going to be freezing our butts off in April, but that was an unexpected surprise to start the day, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that really surprised me. I did not see that coming. I mean, I know they've talked about it for a long time. I think the last concert they had there was sort of a flop just because they didn't bring in anyone huge, but I just went to the Luke Combs concert in Philly. The place was unreal. So I am super excited to get to any concert really like that in Beaver Stadium.
I think Woody's holding out for when Taylor Swift announces her Eras tour to come to Beaver Stadium. I think that's what he's holding out for.
known Swiftie, Kyle Mulwiney, but no, like I figured Luke Combs would be there at some point. Like it's the only other big venue in Pennsylvania he hasn't played, but first concert back after they're trying to get this whole initiative to use Beaver Stadium more. It's going to be exciting, and hopefully Ticketmaster doesn't crash again like it did this morning. So, but before we get to that concert, we've got to get through a football season. We are now it's August 15th. We're about midway through, almost exactly midway through camp. It's gonna be a year. You guys start first because I've kind of talked about this ad nauseum now, so you guys go ahead.
Trent, you and I sort of talked about this past weekend. The buildup for this season, I feel like, is since I've been alive, is the most anticipated Penn State season since I've been here. Again, like we're all Penn State fans. I'm also a Philly fan. The bigger the pump up, the bigger the hype is. Like you just feel like, is there going to be that crash and burn? Is there going to be that knock back down to reality, because the fall is going to be so much harder because this pump up this whole season since the Rose Bowl, it's just been hype after hype after hype. The hype train's moving and we're all on it. And we're going to either we're going to crash through this wall or we're going to make it to the finish line. So
I don't know about you guys, but I have felt the narrative change from the national media perspective on Penn State this summer pretty drastically. I mean, I think as fans, we know what talent we have coming back. We know how we ended last season with the Rose Bowl, and we sort of had this high expectation for Penn State, but I don't think the national media was quite there. And then slowly over the summer, it's just been like almost to the point where I think they're overhyping us a little bit. Like everywhere you look, people have us in their top 5, top 4, playoff contenders. This whole scenario everyone has going around with a 3-way tie between us, Ohio State, and Michigan.
Is it overhyped though?
I'm not sure, but I don't think that hype was there at the end of last season from a national perspective. And now it's just like everyone's sort of gotten on the hype train, including our fan base, which I think we've always been on it, but now the national media has gotten on it as well.
I mean, from having looked at this almost every single day since the Rose Bowl, I feel like it's just more people getting involved. Cause like, I feel like that's been there since the end. Like if you follow people that talk about football all year long, like Josh Pate's been high on Penn State the entire offseason. Like I this is going to sound stupid, so give me a chance to explain myself. I feel like it's been an extremely boring offseason because the storyline has pretty much been the same the entire time. A lot of talent, new quarterback, wide receivers a question mark, defensive line's a question mark. Like but there's really been no other major huge stories. Like, yeah, Marcus Hagas comes in as wide receivers coach. Yeah, Deion Barnes is the new D-line coach. But other than that, it's been quiet. And that's a good
Yeah.
thing. Like, that is a
Yeah.
very good thing. But it's been like I'm running out of ways to say that this season there's a lot of expectations. Like,
I think with recruiting over the past years as well, I feel like this year and next year is like culminating into this is what Franklin's been building towards. Again, maybe it took a little bit longer than some of us anticipated or whatever, but I feel like this year and next year are going to be the make it or break it years. I feel like until
Yeah.
you know.
this
Yeah.
is definitely.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, Matt, with that. I do feel like, as a college football fan, obviously this offseason has been insane. It hasn't been a boring offseason from that standpoint, but from a Penn State perspective, maybe a little bit. We do have returning coordinators. We have seen Drew Allar a lot. We have seen our freshman backs a lot. Like, we have seen these guys a lot. So there's not too many surprises, like you mentioned. And honestly, I think that's one of the reasons like why our podcast, we don't really carry it through the off season, because there's only so much you can say. We don't get into the weeds with recruiting here. We don't get into the weeds of stats and 40-yard dashes and all that stuff. We're really just here to talk bare bones fan type talk, which is hence the name Tailgate Talk. I agree. I mean, this offseason just hasn't had a ton of like explosive things that we would have even been able to talk about, really, specific to Penn State at least.
Yeah, well, Chop Robinson ran a pretty fast 40-yard dash the other day, in case you hadn't seen it. But I think there are some storylines that are starting to develop now as we get, like I said, about midway through fall camp. And I think the first of which, and the one I think we want to spend the most time on today, is Drew Allar. Gonna make sure to not mispronounce his name. At some point, I'm gonna do it. But if James Franklin can do it, anyone can do it. So I mean, again, it's kind of this, everyone just kind of expects him to take the starting job, as you would expect. James Franklin saying, oh, there's competition, all that kind of stuff. Now he did say that Allar is getting most of the snaps with the ones as of last week, which I think is noteworthy for him to say that. So just kind of open the floor. What are our thoughts on Drew Allar?
I don't think, no one ever thought it was actually a competition. I mean, that's the narrative that a coach always paints. I think, the media made bigger news out of that, in the off season, but honestly, no one ever really thought that. Going back to that blue and white game, both quarterbacks were shaky. We talked about that. I mean, the blue and white game was not a stellar performance from either quarterback. But you could look at that a couple of ways. You never want to put stock into any performance of a blue and white game, good or bad. What I've seen, the few clips I've seen from practice and camp, I mean, he looks sharp. We've seen him in games last year. He's had moments. He was a true freshman. We obviously expect him to grow a lot this past off season, now having them reps under his belt. So it's going to be interesting. As many people have said, this season is so dependent on him, it's not even funny. The season's going to go as Drew Allar goes. So
yeah, if he going back, I think listen to when he was in the interview with Adam Brenneman, saying that he's his own biggest critic, and you want to hear that from the leader of your program, leader of your team, saying that like, I'm going to take most responsibility for myself and what I can do to make this team better. And hearing that from a sophomore quarterback, and again, he has great physical tools. The biggest thing is, can he replicate what Sean did as making those changes at the line of scrimmage? I think in our last podcast for the Rose Bowl, Sean made all those line adjustments, and we had 2 big plays for touchdowns. So I mean, it's those skills that if Drew Allar can do that, he can throw the ball how many yards in the field and throw a great pass. It's those deciphering the defenses and anything like that. So that's hard to sell.
Is the season dependent on Drew Allar though? I don't know. I'm not fully there.
Well, if not, who is it?
Well, I mean, so my line of thinking, and I said I haven't made up my mind yet. So we went 11-2 last season and almost damn near made the playoff with game manager and Sean Clifford. Love Clifford. He's doing great things so far in the preseason with the Packers, sort of. He did throw a pick six, but he was a game manager. So you have a amazing running back duo, Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. You've got a really good offensive line. You've got a defense that's probably going to be top 5 in the country. Like, I don't think it's that far out of the question to say that we can be a double-digit win team if he just plays average football. Now, I think where you start to maybe get that gray area is making those couple throws a game to get you to go from 10-2 to 11-1 or 12-0. So there is where I'm kind of like on the fence still.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I guess average football. I mean, obviously these words mean something different to everyone, but I mean, the way I look at it, if he's playing purely average football, I mean, there's some games on the schedule outside of Michigan and Ohio State, Illinois being one of them, where average football from the quarterback may not cut it. I mean, we do have that running back room, but if you're going to become a one-dimensional team, if Drew Allar's not playing up to a standard and they could focus on that run a little bit more, it's going to handcuff you a little bit offensively. That being said, I don't think Drew Allar's going to have a poor season. I just, it's been said, but like his floor is probably lower than Sean's, but his ceiling is obviously way higher. And I don't foresee him. I think those reps he got last season, some valuable reps and then some not so valuable, just garbage time. But I think all those reps are going to have him ready to play this year. And even last year, we mentioned with, Clifford being such a veteran quarterback, I'm sure Drew took a lot from him, but I'm also sure he got way more reps than most backups in the country because as a backup, he was able to take those reps because Clifford didn't need necessarily as many reps as most coaches would like from their starter, being that it was his 15th year there with the program. So I think that will help.
I like the way our schedule sets up too is Drew can, first few games he may be rusty again, getting first live game action as a starter. You have 2 bell cows in the back running game, probably the best offensive line we've had in well over a decade plus. Wide receiver, we're getting that little unproven, but there's definitely potential there. There's definitely skill there. It's just unproven skill, unproven potential. So I think you're getting Drew, you're giving him these keys to a good offense, and you have a all top like lottery pick left tackle as well. So I mean, it's giving him a good scenario for a good young quarterback, and it's only let him grow before our bigger contest later in the season.
See, that's the other thing though. I'm not so sold on the schedule. Like I'm not sure if the schedule lines up perfectly for a first year starting quarterback. Like you've got 4 Power 5 opponents in September. You've got 3 conference games. 2 of them are on the road. West Virginia, obviously we're going to talk about the schedule more in another episode. West Virginia is West Virginia. That Illinois game, I don't think is going to be easy. Northwestern, obviously they've had a lot of unfortunate things happen this summer and they were probably not going to be that good anyway, but it's still a Big Ten road game. Like, I don't know. Like if we get out of September 5-0, I'll feel a lot better than,
Yeah.
So.
I'm happy that 2 of those games in September, those 2 home games are going to be at night, where I feel like you add another 3, 4, 5 points there in Penn State's favor, just because it's solely crazy atmosphere, all that stuff. Yeah, you're throwing Drew into that atmosphere, but more importantly, the other quarterback has to deal with it. So,
yeah, do you guys feel like I don't know why, but I just have this feeling this year that like the Michigan game is the 3rd most talked about game on the schedule this year, and as far as home games go, which is super weird. I mean, you have a top 2-3 program just made the playoffs, back-to-back Big Ten champs, coming in the Happy Valley in a year that hopefully we could compete a little better than we did last year. And it doesn't seem to be talked near as much. And I think part of it is, 1, we're just excited for this West Virginia game. 2, a hatred is sort of formed for Iowa, and that being the whiteout gets a lot of coverage. But it's just
I really hope we skull drag them.
Yeah, it's just weird to me that Michigan seems to be the third most talked about game as far as home games go.
I was waiting for the known Fox hater to be the blame Big Noon kickoff.
Oh, there's no
It
doubt.
doesn't help the fact.
There's no doubt about it. If you make Michigan the whiteout and Iowa big noon kickoff, no one talks about Iowa. Michigan's all the hype. It's just
Well,
a fact of the
well,
matter.
yeah. Well, yeah, you got two things in front of that Michigan game though. Once the Michigan game rolls around, like, unless we're three losses at that point, like it'll be a
For
big game.
sure.
It'll
Oh,
so
there's no doubt that that's going to turn into a huge game. I just feel like preseason. I mean, that's normally the game that fans have circled on as far as the home slate goes. It's normally that Michigan or Ohio State game each year. This year just doesn't feel like that.
no, I see what you're saying, but that's gonna change, I think, in a year or two, which we can touch on a little bit there. But just to kind of wrap up this Allar discussion in a bow, like I think there's another piece of it too that everyone is kind of just overlooking a little bit is, we still have to figure out what's going on at wide receiver. Or I guess it's 2 weeks ago at this point at media day, Franklin was fairly outspoken in saying that Dante Cephas still has some work to do. I think everyone kind of expected him to just come in and like he's just gonna, step in and integrate well. And he noted that he has to transition a little bit still. And then I think that kind of is just confirmed based on what he said last night at practice, where there's no one pulling ahead in that room. It's based on who you're listening to. It's Keandre Lambert Smith and it's Amari Evans right now, or no, Harrison Wallace right now. But like, Allar can only do one part of it. Allar can only do one part of it. So knew it was going to happen. But needless to say, I think Nick Singleton and Katron Allen are going to be getting the ball a lot in the month of September. So
yeah, it's good that we have two backs that can carry that weight, that workload like that, split that up, and on that, I mean the receivers are an interesting group. I'm hoping we just have a lot of really solid receivers, and that's why no one's pulling away. Obviously, you would love for that one stud, but I mean, if you have one stud, but then everyone else is just below average, that's not doing you any good either. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing if no one's pulling away. If it means we could throw three solid receivers out there that the defense needs to pay attention to equally, all three of them, I think that could be a good thing. But yeah, that's the group that, I mean, even in the offseason, we were sort of anticipating like seeing who was going to stand out, and it just hasn't really developed into anyone.
And let's not forget too, until maybe these receivers develop a little more, we can still rely on Tyler Warren, Theo Johnson, those two guys to pick up the load in the passing game as well. I mean, they're both proven, they're both solid options at tight end, and until these receivers become more cemented in the offense, we can rely on them too, and they're good options for Drew as well.
And apparently, we've been working on getting Nick Singleton and Katron Allen to catch the ball too. So yeah, that's a big plus. I think that was one of Winnie's recommendations
let's just run
last year.
That like tee like that like under center T formation. Just run that every play.
Nah, it is. I love when you have a receiver that can run out in the flat like that, get them. It's a great way to get a talented guy like Singleton the ball in open space. Barkley, we tried to do that with that wheel route. It seems like we love to run that wheel route, and it has some good success for us with our running backs. So yeah, I'd love to see those guys get more involved in the passing game as well.
It's gonna be interesting to see how it all plays out. And like I said, I think now we've had kind of this, like, it's the same discussion points through the entire offseason from January to now, and it's put up or shut up time. So very soon we are less than, what is it, 11 days from week 0, right? And then we've got 11 plus however many days till Penn State. I'm not doing that math on camera and embarrassing myself. So anyway, moving on. Broader college football, it's been a crazy summer. You've got conference realignment out the ass, Colorado to the Big 12, Arizona to the Big 12, Utah to the Big 12, Oregon and Washington to the Big 10. Yeah, I'll let Trent tell why he's happy about the destruction of college football and just go from there.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm not. I don't want to say I'm happy about it. I mean, if I can go back to before any realignment happened, I would probably prefer that. But, my thing is once Texas and Oklahoma made that move, it was just game on. Big Ten and it really all flows back to, Texas, and really more Texas than anyone. I'd like to point the finger at Texas. Oklahoma just followed them. And then Big Ten had no choice but to counter. And next thing you know, we have no Pac-12. So one thing I really don't hate about it is I like some of the new matchups. As a college football fan, I love the idea of traveling to Oregon to see a football game, or Washington coming in, USC coming into town. These are going to be fun. Just imagining a Beaver Stadium whiteout with USC coming in, some fun matchups, and not just for us personally, but Ohio State matching up with these teams and Michigan matching up with these teams. I do think it's going to create for some more fun matchups rather than the same old schedule every year where, a lot of schools don't do a good job of scheduling non-conference games anyways. I think I guess we have Auburn and West Virginia. It just happens both of those programs were sort of down when we have scheduled them. But in general, we schedule a lot of real cupcakes. Moving forward, we have a lot of real cupcakes on the schedule too with our non-conference schedule. And I think, and they were set in stone well before all this conference realignment even happened. So it's not to say that that was the reason why, but from a matchup perspective, I do like it. If I go back to the original before anyone moved, I would probably prefer that too. But unfortunately, that's long gone.
Just can't wait for that Rutgers UCLA 10:30 Friday night kick. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be so much fun.
Isn't it UCLA the one that has to travel to Hawaii and then also to Rutgers? Like they're going to like the furthest west team and the furthest east team in the same season.
Probably.
It's just as bad as USC Rutgers sounds, it still sounds better than, I don't know, Rutgers going to play some no-name school.
Say Rutgers sucks. I don't care who they play.
Yeah, I was gonna say Rutgers in any matchup is a bit of a downer, but yeah, I am excited about the matchups, but college football is going to be different, and I think we're going to look back and probably realize that it wasn't for the better. But yeah, I don't know. I know we're going to get screwed in the schedule somehow too. We're the only school in the Big Ten without a rival, or protected, whatever they're calling it, flex protect plus whatever. We're the only one without a protected game, and then they're gonna add two more teams, and we're still not gonna have one. So
I want Maryland or Rutgers to be a rival just so we can have one. It's a guaranteed win every year.
I don't.
I know. I just want to win.
You can't manufacture a rivalry, and we talked about that before. Being that Penn State.
No, I just want to win.
I know.
When I can.
Well, yeah, I guess that way, if you're looking at it just purely from a win standpoint, but yeah, it just Penn State is in a weird spot. I know a lot of people were complaining about that, not having that protected game, but it's like, who would it be? We really don't have a true rival. And you just can't manufacture one. So,
I would have been fine with Michigan State. Like that would have been cool with me. Like it would have been just fine.
Yeah, but Michigan State already has two that they are far bigger than us, right? So it's like
they gave Iowa 3. No, what does it matter? We're just making it up as we go along anyway, so might as well. But like when I see those like projected, like once we get to the Power 2 and the divisions, whatever, like seeing divisions with like Penn State, Maryland, Rutgers is just it's just depressing. Like that's not going to be fun. As fun as the 2024 and 2025 home schedules are going to be, being in a division with Maryland and Rutgers and like nobody else is going to just be depressing.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's all just, we have no clue how that's going to shake out or what that's going to look like. That's just a really big what if.
I'm just glad that again, it'd be different if we were a fan of like Oregon State. Like at least we're a fan of a team that's in the process of, they're in the conference of, we're going to acquire teams rather than like being in a position where's Penn State going to end up in this whole mess of conference realignment? Obviously, we're fine in our conference. It's those smaller market teams that, again, you feel bad for their fans a little bit, but at the same time, like Trent said, Texas started this. They were money hungry, and so that's an arms race. So you might as well keep arming up.
Can't wait for all the Texas fans to come at us, and the 12 of them probably that watch the show to come at us. But
we don't have 12. We don't have 12 Penn State fans that watch the show, let alone 12 Texas fans.
Well, we're growing. That's heck.
I mean,
just
as
like Yingling, Texas
a fan base, how do you get offended by horns down? Like they made a whole rule that, like, you can't do horns down and as a celebration. Like, that's just soft.
Yeah, I think everyone agrees with that except for Texas.
Yeah, well, bring back the BCS. That's all I'm going to say on it. So, all right. First show, new season. We are ending on time from hell or high water. So I am cutting off this discussion, and we're going to last call. So just a brief recap for the one new person that's probably watching this show and doesn't know us personally.
And probably the 8 Texas fans that are mad at us right now.
Before you get too upset. So last call is how we end every show. And basically it's supposed to be just a quick, like, yes or no or short answer style format question to end the show, which most of us usually forget to come up with a last call question. So we're scrambling at the end, and it always ends up going over than just a simple yes, no. So without further ado, I'll start because I forgot to pull a last call question. So I'm going to stick with conference realignment and ask if you could add one more team to the Big Ten, who would it be?
Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's a chalk answer. It has to be Notre Dame.
Well, I'd say maybe Stanford, so then you could get Notre Dame. But Florida State intrigues me. I
would also like Pitt so we can have a rival, but obviously Pitt's not a big enough team for them to come in. But
yeah, Pitt had fans, they'd get in our mentions on that one. But no, I don't think Penn State would ever allow Pitt to join the Big Ten.
Probably not. Probably not.
All right. Who wants to go next?
I have a 2-part question.
Oh boy, here we go.
It's already
so they're both yes or no's. Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen will have more combined rushing yards in 23 than they had in 2022. And for reference, they had 1,928 rushing yards combined last year. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
What's the second part of the question?
They will have more combined rushing yards, yes or no?
You said it was a 2-part.
I have a separate question.
Okay.
I was gonna say,
well,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, they should. They definitely should. Yes.
Not to promote myself, but I'm going to anyway. Kaytron Allen told me personally last week that he wants to get 1,000 rushing yards this year. I know, everyone calm down, but no, I think they will definitely get more than they had last year.
All right, same line. Drew Allar will throw for more passing yards this year than Sean Clifford did last year. Sean had 2,822 last year.
I don't know. I think that's going to be a close one. Honestly, I could see that not going over for a couple reasons. One, I mean, we talked about our receiver talent. I could see a lot of short passes, short digs, trying to get Drew Allar comfortable, our receivers comfortable. Hopefully we could pound the ball, and then 2, hopefully we could just get up in games where we can just run the ball a lot and not really need to sling it much. So I'm going to go with under.
Yeah, I feel like only one of these is going to go over. Either choosing to be fantastic and we rely on him and we have these receivers step up, or like Trent said, maybe the receivers aren't as great and we just rely on the run game, 2 bell cows, and run for more yards than last year.
I agree with all that. I'll say yes to be contrarian, just because I think Allar has a better deep ball, so you might get more chunk plays. So I'll go opposite here. I'm not gonna be like Winnie and just piggyback off everybody else.
Yeah. Who scores the first touchdown out of Drew Allar, Nick Singleton, or Kaytron?
My vote was going to be Abdul Carter. Strip 6.
Okay, other
No.
or other.
Nick Singleton.
Drew's could be
Oh,
Drew's could be rushing or throwing. I guess
Mine's Nick Singleton.
any of them could be rushing or throwing.
Nick's-
Who said the running backs can't throw for a touchdown? First one.
Nick Singleton opening kickoff against West Virginia.
All right, so you go with Nick Singleton.
Very optimistic. I'm gonna go K-Tron because I think Singleton will rip off a big run on that first drive, and then Allen will be down at the goal line.
Honestly, I was going to go with that too. I could see him getting in there for like a 2-yard bully run for the first score. So that was my guess too.
Yeah. Although other.
The field. I mean, a lot of players out there. That's all I got, fellas.
I don't think I've got anything else. I think we did it.
I think that's it.
Wow, 30 minutes.
Yeah, how about that?
Record.
It's been a while since we've done this, so I'll be completely honest with you. I'm forgetting how I used to sign off. So that's it. We're done. Until next time. We are Tailgate Talk.
That was bad.